listening to Andy's Movie Mashup on GFM 107.1.
Oh, that was Radiohead with a track called 15 Step. That's from the movie Twilight from a few years ago. Okay, it's time for the first review or first thing that I'm going to be talking about this week, which is a movie called Love and Friendship that was released this year, directed by American director Whit Stillman and based on Jane Austen's novel Lady Susan. But it is also named after another Jane Austen novel called Love and Friendship, just to confuse you. The film stars Kate Beckinsale, Chloe Sevigny, Xavier Samuel, Stephen Fry, Tom Bennett. And it is a comedy. It's short, 90 minutes. So if you're thinking that, if you're if you have a phobia about period dramas that go on for 2.5 hours and don't really go anywhere, as I do, to be honest, you'll find this to be very refreshing indeed. So a short synopsis is that Kate Beckinsale plays the eponymous Lady Susan, who is seeking a suitably wealthy husband. She's a widow, and also a match for her sole daughter, who's Frederica, who's a bit of a troubled soul, has to be said. And the film is basically a comedy of manners, as Lady Susan finds a suitable husband, but it may not be the one that people want her to find, if you see what I mean. And in fact, may be in conflict with her daughter. Not going to give too many spoilers away about that. But if you're sort of used to Kate Beckinsale in those pretty dreadful Twilight movies, running around in a catsuit, killing vampires and werewolves and that kind of thing, which is all a bit ropey, and you might be thinking, well, really? She's in a Jane Austen period drama? Well, yeah, she is, and she's really, really good. So, sort of delivering the lines with aplomb. The film barely takes breath. It really does motor along at a rare old pace, which is good for me because I like these things to move quickly. As I said, I think if you have a bit of a phobia of period drama and Jane Austen and that kind of thing, this will be right up your street, I think. To sort of it might even make you do an about face in terms of this kind of thing. But I think that there are parallels to be drawn here between things like the movie Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Michael Caine and Steve Martin. It's in that kind of tone, slightly scurrilous tone. Fantastic supporting actors. So there's a standout performance here from an actor called Tom Bennett, who I wasn't previously aware of, who, funny enough, also turns up in another film I'm going to talk about this week. He plays a character called Sir James Martin, who, when we first meet him... Actually, I don't want to give away any of his punchlines because they're so good, and he plays the role so well, that. But he is, I think, one of the most stupid characters ever committed to film. But stupid in a lovable way, rather than a sort of nasty, physical comedy way. He's just incredibly stupid, but quite endearing in a way. Other great performances. Chloe Sevigny's good as a character called Alicia Johnson. Stephen Fry has a small role as Mr. Johnson. Gemma Redgrave, who people might recognise from her role in Doctor Who, as a member of UNIT, and of course Kate Beckinsale, who is fantastic, a real revelation, I think. Kate Beckinsale, lovely locations, mostly shot in Ireland, France and the Netherlands. It had a budget of 3 million, did 19 million at the box office, so that's a massive return, and good to see a film like this doing well, I think. Critical response has a rating of 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not a surprise. I could see this being a very popular film with film critics. So Justin Chang of Variety described Beckinsale's role as one of the most satisfying screen roles of her career. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that, I think that another Underworld movie is coming out this year. Well, I don't think so. I think it is coming out this year. But I think that if she does nothing else in her career, this film, Love and Friendship, stands really tall in her filmography and is something to be very proud of, I think. I think she's really good. It's rated U, So the whole family can watch this. Kids don't... there's no excuse. The kids can now watch Jane Austen. It's a use certificate. Nothing in it to offend, and plenty of stuff to make you laugh. Lovely period detail, great costumes, that kind of thing. I first heard about this on the Kermode and Mayo show, and Mark Kermode raved about it, and again when he picked it out as a DVD of the week, I think. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I was not disappointed, and I highly recommend it. It's called Love and Friendship, and that was ELO with Living Thing. That's from the soundtrack to a movie called The Iceman with Michael Shannon. So it's time to look at the second movie of the week. This is a review of a film called Mascots, which is out on Netflix. I believe it's exclusively on Netflix at the moment. Directed by Christopher Guest, who's previously made, or actually he's one of Spinal Tap. He's Nigel Tufnell in Spinal Tap. But he's made a series of mockumentaries before this and been in various other films. But things like Best in Show is one of his, which I talked about a few weeks ago. A Mighty Wind is another one, which is a favourite of mine. For Your Consideration, which is a sort of a satire on the Oscars and on events, ceremonies of that kind of thing. He was also involved in, as director and writer and producer, in a series called Family Tree that was rather good, 8-episode series that was out in 2013. But this is a Netflix exclusive. It features a lot of his usual collaborators, so people like Jane Lynch, Parker Posey, Fred Willard, Ed Begley Jr., Chris O'Dowd, Bob Balaban, Michael Hitchcock, etc. And this is a mockumentary about a mascots convention, or in fact a competition, where mascots, the people who dress up in funny costumes for football teams and things like that, they all convene in a convention in the United States, and they perform, and in order to win prizes. And this kind of thing's been good for Christopher Guest before, I think. Like things like A Mighty Wind and also Best in Show. But I think that you can probably tell that I'm not hot on this film. I think that in this case, this isn't his best material. And I think that also, I personally think that his output has been waning of late, and that maybe he needs to do something different, or to maybe find some new writing partners, that kind of thing. But I don't think that Mascots is his best work. I think that it features the usual cast members, but there is a standout here, and that is the actor Tom Bennett, who I talked about. It was in Love and Friendship. Is also in this as a mascot of a football team, and delivers another charmingly. I would say he's not as stupid in this film. He has got his head somewhat screwed on, but he certainly delivers a fantastic physical performance in this film, which is really great to see. But I think that if you're a big fan of Christopher Guest's work, then you're going to watch this, I think, regardless of whether you think it's any good. I don't think it's his best work. I think that there are bits in it that are good. I think that some people are very good in it, but I think that it seems to me that he's kind of coasting a little bit, which is sad, because I think he's an incredibly talented man. So I would say that for the hardcore Christopher Guest fan, you're probably going to watch it. For everybody else, I would say, well, check it out anyway, but maybe watch some of his earlier stuff. So I think Best in Show is a highlight. A Mighty Wind is one of my favourite films. So there we go. That is Mascots, out on Netflix right now. From the Rocky Horror Picture Show, that is the fanfare / Don't Dream It. And that's actually from a movie called The Perks of Being a Wallflower, in which they perform some of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And before that, we had The Beach Boys. That is from Fantastic Mr. Fox. Okay, it's time to look at the final film of this week. And this is a movie called Locke that came out a couple of years ago that I've just managed to catch up with, mainly because I picked it out as a TV movie of the week and then thought, well, I've actually got this, so I should probably watch it. So it is a lean, mean, 84-minute film, written and directed by Stephen Knight. Now, Stephen Knight wrote the wrote the screenplay for Dirty Pretty Things, and also for Eastern Promises, David Cronenberg's movie with Viggo Mortensen, which I rather enjoyed. In fact, I rather enjoyed both of those films. So this stars Tom Hardy, who's actually in the film, and then on the telephone, speaking to him, are Ruth Wilson, Olivia Colman, Andrew Scott, Ben Daniels, Tom Holland, Bill Milner, Danny Webb, Alice Lowe, Silas Carson, Lee Ross, and Kirsty Dillon. And yes, I said on the telephone. So this film takes place in its entirety in a car heading from the north of England to London, in which Tom Hardy's character, who is a site manager on a very, very important project that's going to be some concrete being poured the next day, and he's trying to sort that out, and at the same time he's heading to London to be present at the birth of a child of a woman who is not his wife. That's not really a spoiler. That is the plot of the film. And along the way, he is trying to negotiate to get the concrete poured, the correct concrete. He's talking to sort of like one of his cohorts. He's talking to his bosses, telling them that he's not going to be there in the morning, and they're obviously not that happy about that. Now, this may sound a bit dull, but as I said, it's 84 minutes, and I think it's one of the most compelling pieces of work I've seen in many a year. I think Tom Hardy has, sort of a lilting Welsh accent that is very similar to the way that Sir Anthony Hopkins used to speak, back before he became... Well, I suppose he does speak like that still, but, because he's been based in the United States for quite a long time, he's kind of lost that a bit. But if you think about how he used to speak, I think he's definitely channeling that in this film. So the whole thing takes place in a car with people talking on the phone. And you think that's boring, but it's not. It is a compelling piece of work. I think Tom Hardy, he's been great in so many things. I think that he almost stole The Revenant from under the nose of Leonardo DiCaprio, but DiCaprio wasn't having any of that. And he was very good in Inception. Pretty good in The Dark Knight Rises, but here, I think this is probably his finest performance to date. So good that he won the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Award for Best Actor. I think that Stephen Knight's a very fine... In fact, Stephen Knight is the creator of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think I'm right about saying that. He's a very fine screenwriter, though. He's really... And director. He's really... for what is... what some people would consider to be an experimental piece of work, shot on digital cameras, in mostly real time. So the phone calls come through for real. They haven't been, the dialogue hasn't been re-recorded, which is a refreshing change. In that respect, it gives Tom Hardy absolute focus to do what he does. It has a rating of 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ollie Richards of Empire gave it 4 out of 5 stars and said, there are films to see on huge screens, but this one almost cries out for a small cinema surrounded by total blackness. Well, yeah, watch this at home on our screen, and really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a fantastic film. Highly recommend it, and it's one of my TV movie picks of the week, as you will hear. After this, I think that's the next thing that's coming up. Now, I do have a soundtrack item to play from this, and it is a track called Baby, and it goes like this. And that's from the soundtrack to Marley. That's Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. That's from Kevin MacDonald's documentary about Marley. And before that, we had a track called Baby by composer Dickon Hinchcliffe. That's from Stephen Knight's movie Locke that I talked about just before that. Okay, it's time to look at the TV movie picks of the week. This is for the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of October. And first up, we've got Marley that I just played a track from. That's on Film 4 at 12:40 in the morning on Friday morning. Then A Matter of Life and Death, one of my favourite films. That's actually probably one of the earliest films that I remember watching on television. Powell and Pressburger movie. That's on Film 4 at 11 in the morning on Friday. The Perks of Being a Wallflower, played a track from that earlier. That's also on Film 4 at 6:55 on Friday. Fight Club is on 5 Star at 10 in the evening on Friday. The Iceman with Michael Shannon is on Film 4 at 11:15 on Friday. Then we move on to Saturday. We've got The Filth and the Fury, Julian Temple's documentary. That's on Film 4 at 1:25 in the morning on Saturday morning. A Monster in Paris, that's a nice little family animation. That's on Film 4 at 2:40 in the afternoon on Saturday. King Kong, that's Peter Jackson's version. That's on ITV2 at 5:15 in the afternoon on Saturday. Basically, get plenty of food in there for that, because that's a long film. They Live, classic John Carpenter. Actually, is it classic era? Yeah. I'm not sure it's classic era, but it is a really great John Carpenter film. That's on Horror Channel. I've got ahead of myself there. Prince of Darkness, another John Carpenter film, is on Horror Channel at 9 in the evening on Saturday. Then we got They Live, another John Carpenter film. That's on Horror Channel at 11 in the evening on Saturday. Locke, talked about that and played some music from that on the show. That's on Channel 4 at 11:30 on Saturday. Then we have Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is on Film 4 at 1 in the afternoon on Sunday. That's perfect Sunday afternoon viewing. Twilight, played a track from that earlier. That's on ITV2 at 6:25 in the afternoon on Sunday. Life of Pi, brilliant film, is on Film 4 at 6:30 in the evening on Sunday. The Grand Budapest Hotel, that was Wes Anderson's most recent film. That's on Channel 4 at 9 in the evening on Sunday. And finally, the much, lampooned, well, not lampooned, but the subject of many, many YouTube clips with other subtitles being put on it, Downfall, is on BBC 2 at 11:20 in the evening on Sunday. Now, if you haven't seen Downfall and you've only seen those pretty rubbishy YouTube clips, you got to watch it. It's a fantastic film. It's about the last days of Hitler in the bunker in Berlin. Amazing film. Now, all of those listings can be found on the Andy's Movie Mashup Facebook page, also on my Twitter feed at cockers_97. Okay, that was Alice Cooper from the soundtrack to John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. That's a favourite of mine. In fact, Alice Cooper does have a small role in that film. Okay, it's time to look at what's on at Strode & Wells in the upcoming week. And this evening, this is for Thursday, the 20th of October, 7:30pm and 7:45pm. We got Cafe Society, Woody Allen's latest, with Jesse Eisenberg, Kristen Stewart, and Steve Carell. That's in the theatre or studio. Then on Friday the 21st of October and Saturday the 22nd, we've got Ben-Hur in the theatre. And then we've got Swallows and Amazons, which is on Tuesday the 25th and Wednesday the 26th at different times. Check the website for details. Then at Wells, we have Keeping Up with the Joneses, comedy with John Hamm. Inferno, which is supposed to be infernal. The Girl on the Train, which I'm looking forward to seeing, haven't seen yet. Trolls, Storks, it's movies for kids. Bridget Jones's Baby has got a limited screening at Wells. And Finding Dory. So that's the screenings at Wells. I'm going to play another track and then come back and talk about some DVD picks. Another track from Marley, that was, if you needed telling, that was I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley and the Wailers. It's now time to look at DVDs that are released this week. So these are things that are out right now. So we got the Angry Birds movie on DVD and Blu-ray, which actually received better reviews than I think it deserved. You know, I think people thought it was generally pretty good for a tie-in. Then we got The Conjuring 2, one of my favourite movies from this year. Went to see that with my wife. Really, really enjoyed that. Then we got a movie called The Take, which was originally released in cinemas as Bastille Day, but for some reason the title has changed. That stars Idris Elba and Richard Madden from Game of Thrones. Then we got Cell, which Mark Kermode picked out as his DVD of the week last week, which is a Stephen King adaptation, quite a low-budget one with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson that looks pretty good. I'm going to check that out. And then we've got a reissue. I think the first time on Blu-ray we've got Bride of Reanimator, which I'm really looking forward to watching.